Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. It's Michelle.
And Miguel.
So recently, Miguel and I visited our family friends in New York City, and it was only a 2-day trip, so it was a lot to cover. And especially since it was our first time in New York City.
Yeah, so we just like to share our thoughts and discoveries in New York and just some things that I've come to realize after being in a big city, like a city that's bigger than where we live. So we hope you enjoy this presentation. Themes and movements are important to understand when appreciating a cityscape, just as it is to understanding and appreciating art in a museum. When it comes to public art, what's often talked about is graffiti, or works of art in a museum. But what's not often discussed is the cityscape as a whole. In this case, New York City. This can manifest in different ways, from photography to sculpture to home decor. In a cityscape, there is a relationship between the plazas, parks, ethnic neighborhoods like Chinatown, and the buildings that frame them. In the visual arts, a cityscape is an artistic representation. New York City, or just sometimes called New York, is one vast realm, stretching across 5 different boroughs: Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Bronx County, and Staten Island, all consolidated into one municipal entity by the turn of the century. Decades later, the Brooklyn Bridge was built, the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and more contemporary pieces like the Merrill Lynch Bull statue and many others, shaping the identity of New York City we know today. As a result, there are parallels and contrasts between architectures of antiquity and buildings of the modern age, such as St. Patrick's Gothic Cathedral, nearby the modern-day skyscrapers. This was one of my favorite places to be at, because the contrast is so apparent, it's almost like being in a contemporary fantasy video game. The identity of cities are also subtly defined by the layout design, informed by its geopolitical history. The city's land has been altered considerably by human intervention, with substantial land reclamation along the waterfronts since Dutch colonial times. Manufacturers are attuned to the latest trends and needs of a city, such as refurbishing Central Park and adding the City High Line, a roughly 1.5 mile long former railroad turned into a park trail, elevated along the west side of Manhattan. Not only was it an environmentally refreshing walk, but it also adds a new perspective to the city. New York's unique urban footprint and extensive transportation system actually make it more sustainable as well than most American cities. These environmental changes help shape an identity of New York since post 9/11. In the age of film and social media, tourist sites and photogenic landmarks have become a staple to New York City, with its imagery disseminating throughout the world 24/7. Today, the city continues to be a bustling and loud yet solemn destination for locals and tourists. Cityscapes like New York have also played an iconic role in mainstream television and international cinema. Much of the plot of most Hollywood films take place in New York. I mean, 3 out of the 5 Infinity Stones in the MCU were found in New York City. Not only do these aspects make up a city's identity, but also shapes an impression of an entire nation as well. When we think of France, we think of Paris. When we think of Japan, we think of Tokyo. And likewise, when we think of the United States, we think of New York.